100 West Main Street, which is pretty exciting news. And she is going to do a presentation of what their project looks like. Do you need help?
No, I'm just gonna here. I don't know if you can see this, but sorry. We're more interested in the camera than you. But I'll pick them up. I'm just gonna start by introducing myself, who I am, who my team is. We are developers that have done work mostly in I would say the northern part of the state, specifically in East Orange and Plainfield, New Jersey. So this coming into your borough would be kind of a new space for us. But the reason why that site particularly was interesting for us was because it falls right in line with what our experience is, which is taking blighted sites, mostly environmentally impaired sites, and bringing them back to life, as I like to say. But we are a small developer, but we have done some pretty big projects using some pretty interesting financing structures. And so we have a lot of experience taking what people would consider difficult to develop sites and, pretty quickly taking them from pre-development into getting the approvals and starting construction of the sites. So my experience, like I said, has been mostly in East Orange and Plainfield, New Jersey. We've done over 5,000, actually over 500,000 square feet of development. A combination, as you'll see in our profile. My personal background, I've done a combination of commercial, industrial, and multifamily, mostly light tech, but we've also done some market rate deals. My partners are Proud Living. You'll see their profile in there. Their experience has been all over the state, really. And it's been in buying large sites like this one and either rehabbing them or redeveloping them. And so in Plainfield, we've done 5 projects in the span of 5 years, which is a combination of the commercial and industrial projects that I talked about. One of them that will be of interest because it was an environmentally impaired site is the South 2nd Street development, which was a 5-acre site, a brownfield site. We took it, cleaned it up. The city had done some initial investigations on the site, but we came in and we did all of the environmental phase 1 and phase 2, the geotech work. We cleaned the site up and we capped it. And on that site, we built a 44,000 square foot warehouse for an existing employer in the city of Plainfield. That was in an 18,000 square foot space that they were outgrowing. And so the good news about that was that we had a tenant going in. We built a space to suit. So it was a turnkey project, and they moved in right as the project was done. The approvals for that project was done within 4 months of us taking over the site. And within we had a deadline because they had to move in within a certain date. So within about 12 months, the project was up and running and they were fully moved in, no issues so far. We got an RAO on the site, so that tells you, how quickly we also move on cleaning up the environmentally impaired site. So that was on 3 acres of the 5-acre site. On the remaining 2 acres, we're doing 90 units of mixed income housing. That will be completed in April, and we started renting already, but we should be fully leased up hopefully by June, July. So that's our goal. We have a long list of tenants that are interested, and that's another reason why this is interesting to us, because we find that every time we go into a space, seemingly, there is a market for what we're building, because people are either looking for different types of housing. Either they're looking for brand new housing because what they're living in is 70 plus years old and there's no new housing, or you have an older population that's looking to downsize and move into an apartment type style facility. And so we found that every time we built one of these on a site like this in a town that really is asking for it, we lease up quickly. We're able to get through construction quickly with collaboration from the town, and that's been our experience. We're very hands-on, in the development process. I truly understand the approval process, which is why our approval timeline so far has been anywhere from 4 to 6 months. And part of that is that we get very involved in the redevelopment agreement process. We get very involved in the pilot process. We don't just, hand it to an attorney and wait for them to get back to us. I usually draft the redevelopment agreements and the pilot agreements and have an attorney review it. And so it allows us to go through the process really quickly. I think one of the things we've already done with Michelle, and we do with all our projects, is we come and sit down with the town and really ask, what's the need? What's the ask? So we're not building something just to our fancy, but we're building something that fits into the fabric of the community, and that's also needed. And so again, that allows us to move quickly. It reduces the friction between the developer and the township or the borough or the city, and it makes it a more harmonious process with everybody collaborating and working together. So this site, I'm sure everybody here can tell me more about the site than I know, but I do know that it's been vacant for about over 20, actually since the 80s, so a long time. I think it was vacant since before I was born. But as you can see, we're taking really the existing site with obviously interest in expanding sometime down the line, but we're looking at the existing site, building really to minimize the removal of trees and not, disturb the area too much. And so as you can see, there's so many trees with our project fitting right into where the physical structures are. So we're not expanding too much. We're trying to make sure that there's a lot of walkways. I'm not the architect, so don't quote me on any of it, but the intent is to really make it a walkable space, an open space that fits into the community, because we don't want to build something monstrous and everybody's looking at it saying, there's a new project over there and we're aware that it's there, but it doesn't feel like it belongs here. So that's not our intent. Our intent is to make sure that whoever lives there, whoever's looking at it, whoever lives close to it feels like it's part of the town. So as you can see, the parking is on grade. It's not underneath the building. Some of these are townhouses that, we're thinking of putting parking underneath, but that's up to whether or not it makes sense to do that or not, or what the unit counts end up being. One of the things that came up, not from our conversation with you, Michelle, but with Michael before we met with you, was the need for retail. And so we've included some retail over here, as you can see, and this one over here. Sorry. So that folks that are getting off the train after work or the weekends, before they get on the train, have somewhere to go and, either sit or, buy a cup of coffee before they get on the train. So that was really, came out of our conversations with Michael and asking questions like what is needed and what is wanted and what would appeal to people that live here and people that are visiting. The walkability, I think, was intentional because I think Michael told us about the trails that you're currently working on, and so we thought, okay, we want this to feel like an extension of it, and so that's why we wanted to make it a very walkable space. Unless anyone has questions, I think I'm going to end there, but we've talked to the owners of the site, I should say that. We've talked to the owners, we're in negotiation with them. It's been an interesting process. But we did want to make sure that we had buy-in from the borough and from the council before we moved forward to figure out, okay, what can we actually do here that would sit well with everyone and that would influence, the negotiations in terms of price and how quickly we move with that. Just to be very upfront and transparent, this current site, and I'm very happy that there's already a redevelopment plan in place because that makes our work easier. And it also shows that the town is really interested in developing the site. So that's always a good sign when there's a redevelopment plan in place. It's very generous, and so from a design perspective, not a lot of things to ask for. The only thing that stood out to us, and this is also coming out of, having conversations with the owners in terms of price, is the current redevelopment plan only allows for 8 units an acre, which for a 4, almost 5 acre site only allows us to do about 30 units. Doing the math financially, structuring the project doesn't work on paper. And so we are asking for a consideration in terms of increasing the density. I think on the low side, about a 15 unit an acre. On the high side, I would say about 20, 25 units an acre. So that's definitely an ask. So I just want to be transparent up front. The other thing that we will ask for, again, going back to the economics of the project, is a pilot. And again, this is in the redevelopment area already, and so it gives us the legal framework to start working on a pilot. Haven't, thought of what that would look like, the percentage, for how long. I'm sure the bar already has some, which I don't know about yet, but has some sort of framework in place. I don't know if you've done pilots with other developers in the past. I'm sure you have. So that's something that we would definitely ask for. We've done pilots in all our projects. It makes it financially feasible. It's attractive to bankers to see that you have a pilot in place, because it serves as an incentive to the project, financial incentive to the project. So those are the two things, I think, just being transparent, that we would be asking consideration from the board. But other than that, I'm happy to take questions about, our background, what we've done, who we are, and how quickly we would want to move on this. I think as soon as the negotiations are in place and a purchase sale agreement is signed with the owner, we would start to work with the town to get the redevelopment agreements and the pilots, and start getting ready to come to planning board. We would like to have the purchase sale agreement in place before we do that, because it gives us leverage as a developer. Obviously, it's already in a redevelopment area, so you can go ahead and designate us as developers, which again gives us some leverage in terms of negotiating with the owners. So that's my spiel. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Do you know what the density in your rendering is?
I think this one is aggressive. It's about 30 units. I kind of lowered that just based on my conversation with Michelle. Yeah. So that would be where we would like to be ultimately, because that puts us, in terms of negotiating for the price of the land, gives us way more leverage, right? It probably reduces the time frame as far as negotiating the price of them. So that's where we would like to be. That's what we've designed.
That's 30 units total?
No, 30 units an acre.
Okay.
And
I
that's-
just wanted to clarify there. Right?
Yeah,
Just-
30
just-
units an acre.
Okay.
That's your,
Should be 150 units.
150 units. So
A
that,
little less than that, because it's about
4.39
4.7 acres, right? So-
Right.
Acres.
but your math of trying to make the economics work
Yeah,
is based off their current asking price?
yes.
So, because this is considerably larger, as we discussed, considerably larger than what our redevelopment plan currently is.
Absolutely.
If the price was lowered, would the size of this project be theoretically?
Yeah, of course.
Lower.
But you know who we're.
Yeah, no, I
talking to, so
understand.
As to, we don't spend, in the past, we haven't spent a lot of time negotiating with sellers, because we're always able to upzone. So again, being able to upzone always gives us, ability to say, hey, what do we care what the price is? We're gonna figure it out, But this is, I think, personally, this is the lowest density I've seen in any of the work that I've done. So that's why it's a little harder. And if we were negotiating a bit with more reasonableness, I think it would be an easier conversation, but just keep in mind that that's what's going on in the background.
Yeah, I could definitely feel your frustration
Yeah.
with your negotiations that you've had to go
we're
through.
ready,
But
so-
what, during your discussion, you mentioned expansion. Can you speak to that? a little bit? What your thoughts
So, I
are?
think if you go further this way, there's the bank and there's a auto
The
body
gas
shop.
station,
Yeah, the
right.
gas station. Initially, the plan that we came with showed kind of a project that included all of that. Because again, when we met with Michael, there was conversation around interest in the developer coming and just kind of taking over all of those properties. We pulled it back because, this is the first time we're coming to present a project, and so we didn't want to seem like we were trying to do too much too soon. But if we could consider this a phase one of a larger project and see how this goes and what the response is from the town, then we can talk about expanding it. But that would be of interest.
And when you say like that whole, the AutoZone and the bank and everything, you're talking about more residential units in those spaces or just?
Mixed use.
Mixed use?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, residential, again, coming back to economics, it'd be a mix of, unless, we found a tenant that was saying, hey, build me X amount, 1,000 square feet of
Right.
space, and, we had someone that was coming in turnkey, that would be of interest. The bank, for example, we even considered they might be willing to come back in, if they wanted to sell the land itself of the building and come back in as a tenant. That could also be, so it depends on, we would definitely want to do more residential, but it depends on how, amount of retail depends on who is interested in being here as far as retail goes and commercial goes.
And those units are, how many bedrooms?
These ones?
Yeah, or
it's a
what your plan is, what you're thinking, your concept.
Yeah, I think we tend not to do too many 3-bedrooms, so we're usually in the 1 and 2s in a
Okay.
few studios if it makes sense to do it. Again, I think the target for this project would be kind of young people that are driving back and forth between here or people that live in town that want to downsize. But we tend to do more 1 and 2 bedrooms, not a lot of 3 bedrooms because, people, especially in this area, I think people are transitioning to buy homes, either here or somewhere else. And so you don't see a lot of families wanting to move into apartment buildings. That's actually true in all the markets that we've worked in, unless it's mandated by a tax credit program that insists on a 3-bedroom. If the market calls for it or shows that there's a huge absorption rate for it, we'll do it, but we don't really do a lot of 3-bedrooms because we're not targeting large families.
Okay. I think I'm done.
Yes?
My question was just, and you may not be able to answer it now, where would all the traffic come out? Would that be on 513 or would it be on the street behind?
Beaver
You're
Street.
right. We will definitely do a traffic study. We always do it for planning board. And this is very preliminary, that will even might, reconsider where the egress and is and what this all looks like. And so, no, I personally don't have, and I'm still learning the area, so I have no idea. That's my answer. But we will always, we have a traffic engineer that we work with that always does a traffic study for us and gives that to the architect before he finalizes his plans, and so that's something that we would do.
We have one too.
Good to have.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that this is really just very preliminary. We're excited that you're even approaching us to develop this area. I think that this phase 1 fits in very nicely within that footprint. We still have a lot of questions.
Yes.
The negotiations are challenging, but speaking for myself, at least, I'm very open to keeping this conversation going.
One thing I will say about that, and I think that gives us an advantage, is that because we have so much volume in terms of our pipeline and stuff that we own already, it gives us, again, room to negotiate because you might say, okay, this is not like the one project that I'm doing that, all of my balance sheet has to look, of course we're not volunteering to do this, we want to make money.
Right.
So it gives us room in terms of how long what we call patient capital, how long we can wait to make some money on this. If the land comes in, if they're being difficult, we'll give in, let me not say that.
Yeah.
It gives us just more room to have a conversation. Let me say
Exactly.
that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, anyone?
I mean, I have to say, my only concern is the size. That would increase the population of our town by about 4%.
Okay.
The well,
Yeah, that doesn't scare me.
it is also something that I can guarantee you we will have those chairs packed with if it seems like a solid proposal that there's going to be 120 units or 130, whatever it is. I mean, I tell you right now, when people mistakenly thought we were zoning the 3-acre or whatever the name was at the top of the hill, R4, they thought an apartment building was going to go in. Person after person after person after person came in, and it wasn't even real at all.
Yeah.
These pictures will not be popular with large segments of the town. I mean, that's just the fact. And so reducing that density, I think, is going to be a crucial thing. 120 to 150 is.
I would,
So, I mean, and
like
maybe
to
not
hear
all.
what the people think, which is why Nana's here today.
Oh, absolutely,
This.
absolutely. But I mean, right off the bat, I think that is going to be an issue.
Well, I
It's
think
going to have to come
they
down.
need to be educated properly,
Yeah.
too. I went to one of the seminars when I first started, and the town that spoke said they had these coming in, and after the traffic study, they found out the traffic wasn't as bad as everybody first thought. So I think if maybe when
I'm not-
the people,
I'm not
the
thinking
chairs
about
are
traffic.
full,
And it's more rateables.
yeah,
That's really what we
and
need.
if the traffic, I mean, if the chairs are pulled and we bring someone in and say, okay, it's
Yeah.
not as bad as you think, and they're
Right.
educated, that they might say, it's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, and what we found, and we do a lot of research and market studies around this, is that the perceived burden on the resources is not always as real as, so it's not, 130 apartments, not 130 houses, which is very different, right? In terms of, like, if, God forbid, but if there was a fire and they had to go, they're going to one building versus 120 houses. And so there's always the perception of the burden on the town's resources, which is absolutely,
I honestly don't believe people have that concern. I just don't. Once again, I think, I want to see that developed. Anything's better than what's there, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we've had a number of apartment buildings go up recently, and it's been a continual flow of apartment buildings, and they're good, but
Yeah.
but I think that is going to be there's going to be the
So we're
town.
happy to have
I
the
think they're going to be
conversation.
resistant to those kinds of numbers. I mean,
So our existing ordinance, it's 8 units per acre, is that right?
Mhm.
And-
Yeah.
Part of the development
Redevelopment
plan.
plan.
redevelopment.
And you're looking to go to, is it 30 units per acre?
That
Yeah,
would be.
15 to 30
our
would be
wish
their
list.
That's on the current,
Right.
what they're currently looking on based on the price that's being asked for the property.
Right.
So that they can get a return on their
Right.
investment, which makes sense.
Oh, of course.
See how the negotiations go.
Yeah.
Again, I think, we're about to see this year a return on our investment with the pilot with one of Rob Fernandez's buildings. So that's gonna be some nice income coming into the borough. Imagine 150 of those. It does seem like a big number, it is a big project, but I don't think it's overwhelming, just purely based on these pictures, which doesn't really give us all the information. So, again, the goal here today is just to get the idea out, let's start talking about it, let's,
Yeah.
try to get them to negotiate a little bit better with you, and,
And we'll, again, we're open to all the questions, we'll have all the difficult conversations. It's not our first rodeo, and so we've had many, we've had projects where we've had to, beyond the council meeting, just have a separate, town hall and really talk about what people really want and what their concerns really are. So we've done it all,
Yeah, as long as you get the facts out there and answer their questions.
absolutely.
It doesn't always work. We didn't
might.
sell the water system because we had the facts out there and people chose not to believe them. So, I mean, I'm just going to say, that doesn't always work. We still stuck with the thing. So, and I'm not saying it's a bad plan. I'm just saying I think that one issue will be something that
Yeah,
will be a
yeah,
sticking
absolutely.
point. And it's worth you
That's
knowing
good to
that
know,
now
yeah.
instead of later. I mean,
Yeah.
that will be a sticking point
yeah.
for a lot of people.
Well, this is a good introduction to that.
Absolutely, no, absolutely.
Especially
This is a
Greg is
wonderful
here.
proposal, looks very amazing, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not in any way
Sure we'll hear.
saying that this is not
once
good.
the-
Again, not the
But
first time we're
it's,
here
you know,
yet.
but it's
Once
worth being
once
upfront.
the video makes it to the public, then, you know, we'll probably get some feedback right away, so.
Sure we will.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that feedback gets back to us, we have to know beforehand, so we know we're working hard.
Hold strong with your negotiations. Don't give an inch.
It's not the worst. Trust me. Yeah, so any more questions?
All right, well, thank you very much for your time
Thank you
and
for
coming
having
in.
me.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
putting
Yeah.
all the work into it. We'll be in
This
touch.
is a different council meeting. It's the age of coronavirus, but.
Yes. Yes.
I know we're much more crowded this evening.
I'm always geared up for a fight when I'm going to a council meeting. So this is nice.
This is about our normal crowd. These are all the same
This is
people.
nice.
Well, why come when they can stay home and watch it online,
that's
right?
I don't get to participate when they're.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
This is the day after.
you didn't scare anyone away.
Business card.
Here in New Jersey, in the States, you know, I'm in financial services, so I've been watching the market just get slaughtered. I'm inundated with news every single day, and I think the important message I want to get across to everybody is that we just really need to remain calm. You know, the panic that we're seeing, I think, is warranted. I understand people are very scared, but so far here in Hunterdon County, we haven't seen any cases.
Yes, there's one.
There's one.
In
Reported
Hunterdon?
today.
You're kidding?
At Hunterdon Medical Center.
It was
But in Raritan,
He was
though.
diagnosed.
No, that's Hunterdon Medical Center. Rare Township is.
Oh, okay, all right, well, my mistake. Nonetheless, that's one case. You know, I think everyone knows, everyone sees all these websites, information, wash your hands. What's the word, the phrase of today is social distancing, which is something that we're talking about here in the borough. We are going to, I think, by and large, follow the directions that the schools take. They're, at least some are doing part-time, some are taking the day off Monday to make these kind of plans. We're going to be talking about potentially postponing the town hall meeting we have next week for the energy co-op, unless we can think of a way to do that remotely, which would be great. How we're gonna stream meetings going forward. Hybridge right now has a huge agenda of things happening between the budget and the co-op and the land, the alleyways, and, you know, there's just a lot happening. So we're gonna do our best to figure out how we can do this remotely to keep business moving forward. And we're gonna be leaders here. We're gonna show up, do our job, and try to remain calm as much as we can. We have our Office of Emergency Management in place. We're getting daily, if not hourly, updates from the state. Of course, I missed the one about Hunterdon County today, but you know, there are already these steps in place. We're literally prepared in Hunterdon County for an anthrax attack. So, I mean, we're gonna get through this. I think the message I just want to relay to everybody is that, you know, we're gonna get through this as a community. We're not gonna panic. We're not gonna just cancel everything, but we are looking at different ways to move forward. We do have to keep in mind that we might have to cancel events. We might have to cancel meetings or do them remotely, but this news is happening so quickly, we can barely even keep up with it at this point, so. And check on your neighbors, you know, the Office of Emergency Management does keep a list of vulnerable citizens. They have to actually put their name on that list every single year. So maybe you have a neighbor that is not on that list, that you think that they need to be checked in on, check in on them. See if you can
Let
give
them
them
know, right?
an extra roll of toilet paper or a can of soup or something,
So that
but,
resource is actually on our website.
Oh, great.
In the right-hand column, there should be a button that you can report if somebody needs help doing that.
Oh,
You can
okay.
get signed up on that list.
okay. So anyone that's watching this video
Not signed up.
and you're not signed up, go to the website and just add your name to that list. Reach out to any one of us at any time, we're happy to help. And we are still evaluating the situation daily, so. Anybody else?